Hey, Matt from Hidden Machine here again, and this is the second video in a series of videos that is discussing the Remedy Connected Universe. Now, these are all taken from a longer 3-hour piece that I put out in late 2021, but we're breaking it down here into smaller chunks so that you can get into it and not have to make the commitment of a 3-hour long video. Last time around, we looked at 1996's Death Rally, and that was Remedy's first game. It's an arcade-style racer, and you can actually get it for free on Steam right now. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a game that is the cornerstone for the style that Remedy would be best known for, the narrative-driven, highly cinematic, third-person action shooter. Today's video is all about 2001's Max Payne. Let's get into it. Max Payne is a game about a New York City detective who is out to avenge the death of his family, but soon finds himself in the middle of an enormous conspiracy. Max thinks that he's up against some mid-tier drug traffickers, but soon realizes that he's facing forces that are more powerful than the US government. The game begins in 2001, during the worst blizzard that New York City has ever seen. Max Payne stands at the top of a skyscraper, the Acer building, as police swarm the scene. The story pauses there and brings us back to when Max was still with the NYPD. After leaving work one day, he returned to his home in New Jersey, only to find that 3 men had broken into his house and murdered his wife and newborn baby.
Regina. No, God, no, please, Michelle. Oh, baby.
The killers were high on a new designer drug called Valkyr, or V for short. Max then transferred to the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, where he worked on the Valkyr case for 3 years before finally getting a break in the case. It was discovered that Jack Lupino, a member of the Punchinello crime family, led by Angelo Punchinello, was trafficking Valkyr. Max decided to go undercover and infiltrate the family in an attempt to find the source of the drug. His only contacts at the DEA at the time were his partner Alex Balder and Agent Beebe. One night, Max gets a call from Agent Beebe telling him that he needs to meet with his partner Alex immediately. This struck Max as odd because he hadn't met with Alex in person since going undercover. Max smelled a setup, and he turned out to be right. Alex was murdered in front of Max by an unknown assailant. Before he knew it, Max's cover was blown, and the police suspected him of murdering Alex. Both the mob and the NYPD were now on Max's tail. From that point on, the game is a winding and continuously unfolding story of revenge and conspiracy. Max eventually made his way to Angelo Punchinello's manor, and it seemed like he had finally found the source of the drug that took his family from him. However, soon after his arrival, the manor was stormed by mercenaries, hired by a pharmaceutical company named Acer. The mercs killed Punchinello and gave Max a seemingly lethal dose of Valkyr, and then set fire to the manor. Miraculously, Max survived, and this led him down another rabbit hole. Max discovered that Valkyr was developed during the Gulf War as part of something called the Valhalla Project. The drug was intended to give soldiers greater stamina and morale in battle, but due to poor results, the project was shut down. The drug caused extreme hallucinations and violent behavior in those who took it, turning them into unhinged killers with no grip on reality. We find out that a woman named Nicole Horn secretly restarted the project through her company Acer. The whole picture becomes much more clear when we learn that Michelle Payne, Max Payne's now deceased wife, was working at a district attorney's office when a file on the illegal resurrection of the Valhalla Project mistakenly wound up on her desk. In order to silence Michelle Payne, Nicole Horn authorized a field test of the drug, wherein 3 subjects were given Valkyr and set loose upon the Payne residence. Max now had a new target, Acer, and its president, Nicole Horn. Having realized that things were getting out of control, Horn initiated Operation Deadeyes, an order that called for the extermination of all staff and evidence related to the production of Valkyr. The underground bunker where the drug was produced was destroyed, but only after Max learned the truth about the death of his family. Max also learned that Agent Beebe had been on Horn's payroll and was in fact the person who murdered his partner, Alex Balder. Soon after, Max was able to track down BB and kill him. Max was then contacted by Alfred Woden, a member of a secret society called the Inner Circle, and a meeting between Max and the group was arranged. We learned that the Inner Circle had ties to the initial Valhalla project in the mid-90s. Woden let Max know that Nicole Horn was a former member of the Inner Circle, and that he could have all of Max's crimes pardoned if he agreed to take her out. Mercenaries sent by Horn invaded the meeting and killed everyone present except for Max and Woden. Max agreed to kill Nicole Horn and battled his way through the Acer building, eventually defeating Horn at the top of the building. This brings us back to the opening scene of the game. Having just gone on a massive killing spree and still suspected of Alex Balder's murder, Max is arrested. However, Max sees that Alfred Woden is standing in the crowd surrounding the scene. A knowing glance from Woden while Max is taken away lets him know that he'll be alright. I said earlier that Remedy games build on one another. Max Payne built on the narrative style of Death Rally, and introduced a whole slew of elements and themes that we'll see revisited in other Remedy games going forward. Sometimes these elements show up as direct references or easily recognizable iterations of one another. But other times, they're more obscured, like an echo or a reverberation of something that has appeared in a previous game. For example, not only did Death Rally introduce us to the writing of Sam Lake, which went on to become a core element of Max Payne, it also introduced us to Sam Lake, who appears as the model for Max Payne. And while Remedy games will often echo or reinterpret themes or storylines of other Remedy games, the story of Max Payne does this with Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, Valkyries are female figures who watch over battles, deciding who will live and who will die. The Valkyries then select half of the dead and bring them to Valhalla, where they become Enhirjar, and I'm doing my best with these Norwegian words. These Enhirjar serve Odin, the god who rules over Valhalla. Odin is a part of a clan of gods called the Aesir, which includes other gods like Thor and Balder. The Einherjar are destined to be Odin's soldiers during Ragnarok, which is a series of apocalyptic events which includes a great war among all the gods. Balder's death is said to be the first in a chain of events that sets off Ragnarok. In Max Payne, the death of Alex Balder sets off the cataclysmic chain of events that culminates in a number of highly powerful figures waging war against one another, including the eye patch-wearing Alfred Woden. Woden is another name for Odin, a powerful one-eyed god. There are many more references and allegories when it comes to Max Payne and Norse mythology, and while you don't need to be aware of them to enjoy the game, being aware of them does make for a much more rich experience, which is something that we'll see at play while exploring the rest of the Remedy catalog. Any single Remedy game can be very enjoyable to newcomers, but after having played all of their games, it becomes apparent that Remedy has taken great care to reward their hardcore fans and create rich, multi-layered experiences. The mastery on display here is exemplified by the fact that these rich, deep layers and lore don't do anything to take away from or distract people who aren't totally immersed in them. Each game holds up on its own, but combined, they become something even more, and I think that's very special.